But you never know that you could when you feel that way. Ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
Hello and welcome to another edition of 49er Faithful UK Live. I'm Nick Ludlam.
I'm Paul Hope.
And we've got another big one because it's been a rather frantic 30 hours of free agency. In fact, whilst we were doing the opening, another bit of news has dropped, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, Paul, how's your free agency started, mate?
It's been as crazy and as hectic as I could even care to imagine, buddy. So I was in the office today, so I've been away from my phone, haven't been at NFL Network, and I've been trying to cram in the last 2 hours before we went live with all the breaking news. And it's great, isn't it? You talk to people about being fans of the NFL, and they say, you've got no football till September. What are you guys going to talk about? And I was like, don't you worry, everybody. Me and the main man, Nick Ludlam, we're live on YouTube. We've got all the news to go through. So thanks for joining us. And I can't wait to get into this, Nick.
This is it. Well, I've just said, obviously, the breaking news, and we might as well just get straight into this most recent one, actually. It's literally, as it was rolling, it came up because I've got my Twitter right here. I've been refreshing it as much as anyone. And Azeez Al-Shire has signed with the Titans. Ran Cartham, using his connections, obviously has gone and taken Azeez over there. So that's the latest in the news of players to be leaving, along with a few others. We've had, obviously, Jimmy Ward has joined the Texans, along with Hassan Ridgeway. Mosley, of course, earlier on today, joined the Lions. Mike McGlinchey signed that rather big contract with the Broncos. I mean, Russell Wilson's going to be happy about that. Jimmy's gone to the Raiders, and now Azeez to the Titans. So there's some big names leaving. But we've had some bigger names joining, haven't we, Paul?
Yeah, so preparing for this week's pod, I dared to look at ESPN's top 100 free agents. Now, for those people who looked at Lamar number one, and since me and Nick spoke, there was a little bit of a debate on Twitter, Nick. Lamar for Bosa, who would you have? Now, I was going to pinch that for my would you rather, but it's out of date. As I said to Nick off air, everybody, because I knew I was at work today, I put a bit of thought into the weekend and I was prepping my notes, and I might as well just put them in Nick's shredder, because what I prepped on Friday has just gone out the window. But I didn't dare to dream, buddy, that we'd sign the number two on the list, and Hargreave, as Simon has said there. So I actually got the news from a Rams fan. So my mate Mike, who's a Rams fan, texted me and was like, yeah, Hoppy, you've signed Hargreave. And I was like, nah, he's winding me up here. Straight on Twitter. And I was like, we signed Hargreave. And then I dropped it in the admin pod group messenger. And then obviously Twitter was alive with, what numbers he's going to wear. And the fact that we've taken him from the Eagles as well. I think you touched upon that off air, didn't you, buddy?
This is it. I mean, it's an arms race. It always is when it comes to winning the big one. You've got to go get the best players. Now, if you can improve your team and make another one of your rivals worse, that's a double whammy right there. Hargreave was fantastic for the Eagles last year. We mentioned him when we went through defensive tackles last week. I practically discounted him because at no point did I ever think we would be in the market for him. I didn't think it was the kind of signing we would make. And lo and behold, that's the exact signing we go and make. It's a big splash in free agency, which it's a very John Lynch move, really. We're normally a bit of a slow burner when it comes to all that. And the last 30 hours have just been mental. It's been signing after signing after signing at the moment. It started obviously with, when Tabor dropped his video, scared the living daylights out of every faithful out there. And it turned out to be one of the best signing videos we'd seen. Thank God he'd signed for 3 more years. But it's just been crazy. You just didn't expect it, really.
No, so as I was saying to Nick off air, at the weekend, it looked like the live top news was going to be Tabor in the UK, which has been great to see on Twitter.
Indeed.
And then we signed McKivitz. I thought, oh, nice. Right tackle. team-friendly deal. And then when I was looking down, I may have given Hargreave a little bit of an underselling there, because if you take Lamar off, because Lamar's technically a restricted free agent, Hargreave was the number one. And what I got excited when I went back and watched the game tape, Nick, is not the fact that he had the sacks, the fact that he was on that Eagles defense. It's the pressure that he brought. You put him next to Armstead and you think, Armstead, Hargreave, Bosa. And then you mix in there that Wilkes likes to blitz. And I'm not talking from the front. Wilkes likes to blitz with his DBs, with his safeties. And you think Fred Warner might like a piece of that. Hufanga might like a piece of that. So you think the defense has got stronger and stronger. Now, the chat is on fire.
It's already flying.
Before we move on, like last year, Rob, nobody thought we'd sign Mooney Ward. We went in, we got it done early doors. Simon, patience, buddy. We're getting to the fact that Brendel signed. So I've come in from work, I've switched my notifications back on, and Twitter has just gone into meltdown, which is great to see. The 49ers are not messing about. John Lynch was definitely watching the impromptu pod last night, because some of the things we talked about, Nick, about restructuring the centre. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the Brendel signing? Seems Rob and Simon's brought it up. Is it something you're happy with, Nick?
Definitely. I mean, continuity along the offensive line is going to be unbelievably important, especially with how things are looking at quarterback. You know, you've got two young men, both coming back off injuries. Both coming back off surgeries as well. They're going to want to be comfortable behind that offensive line, and familiarity breeds that kind of confidence. You know, Brendel had a really good year. We were all worried about how center was going to perform after Alex Mack retired. It was a big concern for everyone, and rightly so. You know, Brendel came in and he solidified that center a little bit. You know, he gave the guys a bit of confidence. He's been a really good addition. I'm glad he's gone and gotten himself his contract.
Now, what makes it even better, Alex Simpson, as always, on point. And I was getting to the facts, everybody, because I was known last year for coming in with the facts. So it's a 4-year deal, maximum value of $20 million, with $8 million guaranteed. And that's what Ian Rappaport tweeted out. So he's someone that I follow and someone that I trust. But he actually had a better offer from the Jets. And I think that's the news circling around this team. We're contenders. People want to come and play for us. So Gibson. So Nick was like, when did Gibson re-sign? I was like,
I've seen swearing in the chat. There's swearing in the chat.
So, but as Rob said, too much news. I had to update him, Rob. I was like, yes, Gibson has signed a team-friendly deal. Brendel has signed a team-friendly deal. Now, El Presidente, Mr. Gowland, the ever pragmatic amongst us, Nick, is worried about the salary cap. Yeah. And last night, I talked about 3 potential targets for restructure. CMC, because he's got no guaranteed money. Fred Warner, because I think he's still young enough to have a restructure. And Mooney Ward. And a lot of people thought, come on, Paul, we only signed Mooney last year. And lo and behold, John Lynch obviously thought that lad in the UK is talking sense. And Mooney Ward was restructured. So are you happy with that, buddy? Did you think it's a good move by the team?
It is. They needed to do it. If they were going to free up money, it's going to be done. Every indication now is that the Niners are all in. This is it. They're going for it in a big way. They want to win the Super Bowl. If ever there was an indication, it's that Hargrave signing straight away. You know, but to do that, you've got to free up the cash. You know, money isn't unlimited. It's not like soccer. I hate using that word, but I have to just for ease of anything at the moment. You know, you can't just spend on whatever you want. You know, you've got that cap, you've got to stick with it. And more and more, I'm getting worried about someone leaving. But no, there's no sight of that trade yet. But it does worry me that maybe we are going to lose someone somewhere.
Well, Lee was teasing that on our impromptu show last night, and I think he's looking at possibly something like Ayuk. Debo was rumoured. I've seen a few things on Twitter. I mean, you're right. You can't keep everybody. You can't pay everybody. And I think that's been shown with the E-Man. I think we'd have loved to have kept E-Man. I think the buzz around the combine was the 49ers were very bullish on Javarius Ward and Lenore as a starting cornerback duo. I think we'd have taken Mosley. And what we know about this team, Nick, that we love, is the 49ers have a price tag. And we've proven that over the years. Laken Tomlinson was a good example. Come back, but if you get paid elsewhere, off you go. And like Rob said, I was 50-50 with Brendel, Rob. I thought if he wants too much money, I can see the team letting him walk. But equally, a third centre in 3 years would have been a bit of a worry. You're trying to build continuity on that line. And when you go back and watch the game tape, Brendel put together a hell of a season last year. So, I mean, Simon has put something in there we wanted to talk about. So we're jumping all over tonight, guys. Buckle in, because this live is going to be crazy. And this is what we love about the free agency.
This is it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's soap opera for sports fans, isn't it? You know, I've had words, meh. They're escaping me now. The storylines change hour by hour, episode by episode. You know, it's brilliant. It's a lot of fun, man. It almost feels like football's back. You know, it's there. All the stories are coming in. I'm on Twitter near enough 24/7 at the moment. I'm just checking out. Some notifications are popping from David Lombard, and oh god, what's happening now?
So 24/7 on Twitter. I mean, that's just an everyday life, isn't it, for most people on the 49erFaithfulUK? Is that?
In fairness, Paul, I think that's just you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. I can't compete with that, mate. Sorry, I can't compete with your caliber.
But we're jumping all over. But the QB conversation was one me and Nick had off air, and we were trying to think tonight. We didn't want to come on with a set schedule because the live, we're on like episode 9 or episode 10 now, and we're loving the community. We're loving the chat. We like that people come, and the realism of it is the fact that free agency's gone live, and you're looking at all the money around the league. I mean. We will touch upon other teams' news, but we won't go too much into detail because you're all 49ers fans. But just before I pressed go live, I saw the news that Waller is being traded to the Giants. So Jimmy G has already lost a favoured weapon. But the QB room, Nick. So a lot of talk on Twitter because we've got our 3 QBs for the season.
We do.
Did you believe they would be the 3 QBs we would be going into the season with?
I never thought Sam Darnold would be a quarterback for the 49ers. In fairness, I don't trust USC quarterbacks. They don't have the greatest track record, certainly in recent history, when they're coming into the league. But it's a good deal. It's incredibly team-friendly for us. It gives us... It's an upgrade on Josh Johnson, for a start. It was a weird one. Sort of when it dropped and was like, okay, how much are we paying him? Because I thought he would be too expensive for us, if I'm being honest. I didn't want him for that reason alone, other than he's not very good. But I'm okay with it. It's a relatively cheap room. I still think we draft someone. I still think we're going to kick the tires and see potentially where, I can't remember his name, UCLA QB. He looks tight. He might be available in the later rounds. I still think we take a 4th into the year, especially with that potential rule change of having a 3rd QB dressed to avoid the debacle from the NFC Championship game. But it's exciting.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any more ghosts on the field, though.
No. So to be fair, Rob, come on. You know, we've got to tip our cap. We've got to mention. To be fair, it wasn't a blockbuster deal that I think he was hoping for, but he got paid by the Raiders. Now, the 3 QBs, I agree with you. I do think we had a 4th. I think we got to training camp with 4 because obviously Brock has just had his surgery. There's still question marks about Trey Lance's fitness. Trey Lance is fitness. Not easy to say, trust me. And like, I think we're at the same place with Trey that we've been since we drafted him. There's a lot of question marks. We need him to have a good off-season. Now, Brendel coming back gives me that confidence because obviously he's someone that Trey has played with. The offensive line is building nicely. And you talked about the draft there, which is a nice segue because I think what we've shown in free agency, buddy, is we haven't got any glaring holes. Now, yes, we're going to look at adding pieces as a defensive tackle. Yes, we're going to look at adding pieces on the offensive line. But if we went into free agency, if we went back 2 weeks ago and we did the would you rather, and you looked at the list of free agents that we've signed, as Niners fans, mate, you've got to be happy with the business that Lynch has done which sets the draft up quite nicely, especially with the 11 picks that we've got. Do you think I'm right to be optimistic, or do you think I'm being a bit too over-optimistic with my thought process?
No, not at all. I mean, if it, like you say, the business that they've done so far should leave everyone incredibly confident for the season moving forward. I would say that right tackle is still a glaring need, but it's making me wonder if that would, coming back to that trade thing, do the Niners use one piece that they've already got and go and get themselves a right tackle from someone a bit more experienced? Or do they package together a load of picks to try and move up in the draft and get someone there that they really like? That's the only hole, really, I think, that we've got. Kick is a bit of a weird one, but yeah, the draft is an odd one, Rob, because I didn't expect this kind of a start from free agency. I thought we might concentrate on maybe getting some of our free agents signed like we did a couple of years ago when we had a ton of free agents. We were all concerned. We only had $5 million in cap space. And we didn't do a lot of deals. We concentrated heavy on getting what we already had staying in the building. I was expecting that. And this has thrown, well, it's the complete opposite of what I was expecting, realistically.
Yeah, I think as well, as Niners fans, we're very spoilt with the team and the coaching staff and the way the organisation's ran. So I always joke, in Parag, we will trust. We're not at the salary cap hell that the Rams are. I mean, I had a look on Sport Track for 2024, and when some of those contracts start to hit, I was thinking, oh God, there's quite a few, 20 plus. But then you remember there's the restructure. You remember the salary cap goes up every year. And this time last year, we were doing all our mock drafts and we were looking ahead of the draft and we were like, there's no way the Niners use all those picks. We're going to be packaging them up. Not only did we use all those picks, we also picked up about 12 undrafted free agents. So I think we went into OTAs with like 100 players, but a few people seem to forget that we have a couple of people that we drafted last year. So Jason Poe is still kicking about.
Yep.
We don't know where he's going to end up on the offensive line. Nick Zakel is still there.
Yeah.
There's Khalil Davis we picked up, and there's a lot of positivity coming around him. And I mentioned a few names last week. I'm not going to do a who's who, but in training camp, we are very lucky that we have the awesome content creators that will be there. And if you don't follow those guys, follow me, because as soon as I hear anything, and I'm on Twitter pretty much 24/7, I'll retweet it and I'll share the news. And that's why I don't want us to go too draft heavy tonight, Nick, because I'm excited about free agency. We are going to try and keep this to about an hour, people. But me and Nick, I haven't seen him for a week, and a lot has happened since we spoke a week ago, buddy.
Yeah. This is it. It's a brand new world we're living in at the moment. You know, we had one of the best defensive lines in the league anyway. We now have the best defensive line in the league. We certainly have the scariest defensive line in the league. I'm sorry, if I am Stafford, I'm retiring because I don't want to get hit by that Niners line, especially when the Rams are so completely devoid of players, let alone talent. That D-line is just going to do spectacular things this year. They are going to bully the Rams left, right, and center. They're going to do the same to poor little Kyler. He's going to get destroyed. Seahawks fans seem to be rather bullish about their chances because they've picked up some decent players. I think their confidence is somewhat unwarranted. I think last year was a flash in the pan, but we're going to destroy them. That D-line is going to eat.
Before we get to Colin's comment, you mentioned Stafford. Now, we don't know whether he'll be there because the Rams are giving everybody away for a packet of crisps and a kind of Imto at this point. So who knows where Stafford might be. I mean, Ramsey had enough of facing Deebo Samuel twice a season. He's took his talents to South Beach and gone down to Miami. But Colin, I don't know at this stage, buddy. I mean, who knows? We might take a running back in the third. We might take a kicker in the third. We might take a punter in the third. What this organisation has shown, if Kyle Shanahan likes someone and he wants them, he doesn't care where he drafts them. I'm excited for the draft process. So once free agency clears, me and Nick will be going live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And what we'll be doing is, once free agency settles down, we're going to look at the draft. We're going to do a few mock drafts. We're going to get you guys to do your mock drafts, share them with us, and we can talk about the draft crushes. Because, as I've said, I don't watch a lot of college football. I'd be a single man if I watched football on a Saturday night and a Sunday night. And I normally go to the likes of Najee and Gary, who are more college fans than me. But once free agency settles down, you see all the content creators putting out their draft lists, their draft crushes. But I did chuckle, Nick. Breezy went live yesterday at 3 p.m. By 4:30, what they talked about was out of date. So that's why we haven't got a structure for tonight. So let's have a little look at some of the comments. So as Simon says there, just give us the West. Rob, we agree. Hargreave definitely helps Armstead. Armstead opens up Bosa. It's almost unfair. And I can't wait to see it, Rob. Not going to lie. The West is a given. Give me a Super Bowl ring. Alex Simpson's put there. He thinks we trade up for a cornerback. So he's echoing what Colin says. Now, Brett, this is a very good comment, Brett. So he believes Drake Jackson will have a big line. A big year. Opposing all line will focus on Bosa, Hargreave, Armstead, which will leave Drake Jackson. So there was a lot of talk, Nick, that obviously started the season well, but he ended it. First year as a rookie, playing that position. He needs to get his body ready for the NFL. I'm hoping that Trent Williams is going to take Drake under his wing like he's done the last couple of years with some of the prospects. Get him ready, but I'm excited to see what Jackson can do. What about you?
Yeah, and he's going to see a lot of one-on-ones. Because you can't double team everyone. It's not possible. And you line up those other three, you can Bosa, Eric, and now Hargreave. You're taking up a lot of people's thought processes. They opposing teams are going to spend a lot of time in their O-line rooms talking about those three, which is going to give Drake a massive chance. If he wanted an opportunity to break out, this is it. This is it. He now has to prove himself. More for him as much as anything. So he's obviously still on his rookie deal. He's not in danger of losing or being traded anytime soon, I don't think. But if you're gonna go, this is it. This is it, young man. It's time to really get the work done. Have a big off season, because next year you could really have a tremendous year and finish it with a ring on that finger.
Now, when the Hargreave news broke, I had a few non-49ers fans hit me up in my DMs saying, "Oh, why is 49ers Twitter getting excited? Defense doesn't win championships." And I thought, if it's getting that level of hate already, it's a big move. And most people on this side of the pond get into the NFL watching offensive football. As Niners fans, you fall in love with Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, T.O. But the more you start to fall in love with this game, you can't but help notice the defense. And we're talking about the front four. We're all smiling, but Wilkes is going to bring a different dimension because he's going to focus on that backfield. I'm looking forward to seeing Gibson and Hufanga. So, yes, Nick, you weren't sure, but Gibson is definitely re-signed. Now, if you look at the stats, Gibson played every snap last year. He was 61 tackles, 5 interceptions. Looking at the money, some of the safeties have commanded yesterday and possibly today. He could have been looking at 8, 9, 10, 11 million. Yeah. He was going to retire, but he had that much fun playing with Hufanga and the 49ers. He's come back on an ultra team-friendly deal. It's like 2.9 million. There's a few bonuses hitting there. Now, I was over the moon to see Hufanga, one of the first to tweet out, "Let's run it back." And it looks like they've got that good relationship. Is it something you're excited to see build on for next season?
Absolutely. I mean, it came out of nowhere last year, and Gibson was signed just to really cover Ward until Ward gets healthy again. Gibson's even admitted that's exactly what he expected out of last year, to lose his job, essentially, the moment Ward became re-available. But he played so well, and he complemented Hufanga so perfectly. Like I said, he plays every snap, and it was a Pro Bowl season. He was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he had more interceptions last year than our entire defense has had in previous seasons. That's crazy. And I was so happy that he wanted to stay. And he said, if I'm going to play, I'm going to only play here. I want to play with Huff. I want to play with this young man. You've got to love it when players are saying things like that. Put that on top of the Brendel being offered more money elsewhere. But no, I want to stay here. I want to stay here. When players are doing that, it can only boost your confidence for the team. You're there and it's just like, yeah, I'm thinking Super Bowl. I'm thinking rings. I'm thinking this is it. We're finally going to do it. I really am. I'm Super Bowl all the way. I know we've still got the draft. We've still got so much more to happen. And last season proved that if something can happen, it likely will happen to the Niners during that season. But come on. I mean, look at what's come in. How can you not think Super Bowl? Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. That's it. I think we're going to win it.
People laughed at me on the John Chapman show, humble brag, when I said to John, bold prediction, we're winning the Super Bowl. And that was before we had Hargreave. That was before we re-signed Brendel. So, Nick, I'm already there, buddy. I'm driving that train. You've just bought a ticket. Let's get that hype train going. But just want to shout out Shifty's 49ers Talk. He's put, hey guys,
thank you.
love the show and all the memorabilia. He's talking about yours more than mine. But I have memorabilia envy, Shifty, but appreciate you joining in and commenting.
Cheers, man.
Simon, bold prediction, record number of sacks and shutouts. Can't wait for the season. And Rob D is thrown in there. If you watch the tape, Gibson is okay. Interceptions fell into his lap, but he's great for Hafanga getting better. What you've got to remember, Rob, the NFL isn't Madden. You can't turn the salary cap off like the Rams thought you could. Look at what Nick said earlier. They're just basically shedding players now because they're in cap hell. And they've written off last year. They've definitely written off this year.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes what the 49ers do, and a lot of people get a bit hung up on this, they don't always go and get the best players. You look at the top agents on the free agency list, and I've said we've picked the top one. But you can't go and sign the top 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What you've got to do is look at your salary cap, look at your team. And what the 49ers do well, Nick, is they get the best player that they want. So if you look at Mooney Ward last year, he wasn't the top cornerback choice out there. A lot of people were saying other names, but I think every Niners fan is over the moon that number 7 is ours. And I've got an equal feeling about 93. So you heard it here first. There's no number controversy. Nick Bosa is 97. Hargreave is 93. He's took DJ Jones' old number. I can't wait to see them two brothers in arms wreaking havoc and taking down whatever quarterbacks are in front of them.
It's going to be special.
Alex Simpson. Carl has lost his patience and wants it now. And to be fair, Rob, I know you like the signing. I wasn't trying to call you out there, buddy. You've been a regular since we've gone live. You always comment. You're always in the chat.
Yeah, man.
So, Nick, is there anything else that we need to cover? Because we've been going for 28 minutes and I feel like there's a lot that we need to talk about tonight, buddy.
Well, it hasn't stopped. I mean, I haven't stopped refreshing my own Twitter feed just in case something else pops up, to be honest with you. It's just been insane. Like I say, it's been a great start to free agency. You know, the team is looking good. What more can you say? You know, I'm really sort of struggling on there, to be honest with you, mate.
Well, I'll jump in and save you. There's one that we didn't mention, and I've got his name circled. So Kevin Givens, defensive tackle. So obviously the lot of fanfare was on Hargreaves. John Lynch has been quite consistent. That front 7 is our strength. We normally go into camp with about 10 or 11 of these guys. Obviously, we've lost a couple. A couple have gone elsewhere, but that's the model. What happens is Kashurik says, come to me. Come for a year. I'll coach you up. You'll play in this awesome team. Yeah. You'll go get paid. But I think Givens had a good year last year. So I was quite excited. So looking at the free agents, I think we've covered Hargreave, Brendel, McKivitz, Givens, Gibson, Darnold. Not a bad start for free agency when you think a lot of people were saying we probably weren't. I mean, I'm going to save it. I have got a theory, but obviously it'll spoil my would you rather. The good people are not ready for the would you rather yet.
Make them wait. Hey, Josh.
Josh has joined in.
Thanks for joining, man.
Before we move on to the draft, and I know we've covered Niners free agency, is there any free agency moves that other teams have made that have caught your eye? One that you kind of worried about or think maybe we should have been in for that player? Is there any that jump off the page?
Not massively. I mean, the one, obviously, when you mentioned earlier about Darren Waller going to the Giants, so the Giants are obviously pretty confident of doing pretty well with this new contract they've gone and given Daniel Jones. I don't think they will be. I'm actually quite surprised that Waller chose to go there. I thought he'd have been better off staying where he was, to be honest with you. I know he's in a stacked division, but that's a weird one. He's one of the top 4 tight ends in the NFL. He's up there with George, Mark Andrews, and Travis Kelce. But I was a bit shocked that the Raiders would let him go. And like you said, Jimmy's going to be miffed because he does like his tight end. So we'll see who they replace But there we are. Yeah, McGlinchey's a good one. I mean, he gets a lot of hate. And yeah, unfortunately, his mistakes were pretty high profile. But he also made some pretty big contributions. You look at that CMC touchdown. Doesn't score without McGlinchey making those 2 blocks. You know, I'm glad for the guy. You know, obviously tackle is a premier position within the NFL. There, good ones are going to get paid. He's not elite. Never pretended that he was. But I am sorry to see him go. He's a phenomenal run blocker.
Well, I think it gives away what maybe Sean Payton is going to do with the Broncos. So let it cook, Russ. I don't think you're going to get the freedom you thought you were going to get at the Broncos. I think McGlinchey shows they're going to move to a more run-heavy offense. The NFL is unique because we invest in our teams. We're all Niners fans. But we all have our favourite players, and you kind of you get on this roller coaster with them. And like you said, McGlinchey has been here. He's been through the highs. He's been through the lows. He did an interview this time last year with Brad Graham, and I was really impressed with McGlinchey as the man. And I'll always root for him. I know he's had his haters out there. I thought he was going to get paid by Chicago. I thought McGlinchey and Robbie Gould were going to end up in the Windy City. I have a Bears fan as a friend who was a bit gutted they didn't sign McGlinchey. Equally, got a Broncos fan very excited with McGlinchey. And that goes to show you sometimes the grass can sometimes be greener. And I think maybe if we struggle at that position, it could show maybe hasty. But I think the money was earmarked. I think, like I said, with Lake and Tomlinson, we wanted him back last year. The Jets came in and went over what we were prepared to pay. Yeah. Now, before we go into the other Niners that have left, and we love our chat. We never leave anyone out, Nick. So Simon has raised a topic that is a rabbit hole Lee Gowland would be proud of. So Simon's put in there, it's not Niners related, but is it him or is Rodgers totally disrespecting the Jets by keeping them waiting? I think he's making this all about him instead of how we can help Salah and the team, basically. So what's your thoughts on Simon's thought process there, Nick, with good old A-Rod?
I think he's pretty much nailed it, to be honest. It's Rodgers being Rodgers, though, isn't it? Would you expect anything less for him? I mean, rumours are that he isn't going to sign unless they can pick up certain players, because by all accounts, he wants them to sign Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Mercedes Lewis. He wants those 3, which are basically his old teammates. And he wants to make sure that those players are signed before he signs. But until that happens, then you've got the Packers and the Jets can't really do anything. Now, I feel for the Jets because they have got Salah. I got a lot of respect for the guy. He did some fantastic things for our defense. Less so for the Packers. I have no problem there. And I can't wait to head back down to Plymouth to be best man at my mate's wedding, who is a Packers fan, in 2 weeks' time, and wind him up about this. It might even make it into the best man speech. We'll see. I'm going to have to try and work that way in somewhere. But it's Rodgers being Rodgers. The man thinks he's the second coming, doesn't he?
Yeah, so before we deep into some of the other comments, I mean, a good friend of mine who's more of a Rodgers fan than a Packers fan, he's gone through some strange emotions at the moment. I don't think he's keen. And I'm ended up at the Jets. And it's well known that I do Let's Talk Sports. And Dan, the owner of Let's Talk Sports, is a Jets fan. And I was on a show with him last week, and he was kind of torn because he wants that elite quarterback. Like, make no mistake about it. As much as Rodgers off the field leaves a lot to be desired, on the field, he's up there as one of the greats. Obviously, there's a knock on, can he take a team when it really counts? And if he faces the Niners in the playoffs, we all know the answer to that. But I think he's got that kind of contract, Simon, and he's got that kind of standing in the game, the likes of Rodgers, Brady, Manning. They're able to do that. But like you said, Nick, it's weird because it kind of handcuffs both teams at the moment.
Yeah,
what I will say might come across as controversial. I'm glad it's not our problem. I'm glad that I don't have Aaron Rodgers in our team, because I think what we're trying to build, I don't think Kyle would want that kind of superstar ego, making it all about him. He wants the team first mantra. Now, Neil Graham has joined us. Put evening, chaps. Just having a quick break at work. Always good to see you, buddy. Brett Sinclair. Rams, Seahawks, Cards have done virtually nothing, which, as a Niners fan, is always great to see.
Fine with that.
Martin has checked in. We take the West 6-0 again. That's not even a bold prediction. That's a fact.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Jimmy G. I'll get on to Jimmy Ward in a minute.
Wrong Jimmy.
Wrong Jimmy. Martin Peppard, always good to see you, buddy. Thanks
Even
for joining in. Alex Simpson, it's like you're in here, buddy. Yeah, we wouldn't have him in our team.
No.
Jason, can they move the season forward? Start in June. Jason,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
as somebody that doesn't have an English football team, and NFL is the only sport that I tend to really invest in, I would love the season to start in June. But then we wouldn't have OTAs, and we wouldn't have training camp, and we wouldn't have all the nice little build up to September. And 49ers, Simon put he agrees with Alec, and a few laughing emojis in there. So let's have a little look. Now, I mentioned Jimmy Ward on the back of Rob's comment. So as I was commuting to sunny Darlington from Middlesbrough on the train this morning, the group chat that I'm in with El Presidente, Gareth and Nadji Kara, my phone beeped, notification. I thought, who have we signed now? And it's suffice to say, everybody, that Nadji was dancing a jig of happiness, and he took great delight in announcing the Jimmy Ward news. So obviously that'll be covered in other episodes of the pods. How do you feel, Nick? Because I was quite sad to see Jimmy Ward go, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I don't get Nadji's hate. I think Lee's on the same page as me. I don't believe it was a blockbuster money move that Jimmy Ward hoped for. I thought it was realistic for us to keep. I mean, are you sad to see Jimmy Ward go?
Yeah, I like Jimmy. I'm a fan of Jimmy Ward. I think unfortunately, I think he's been a victim of his own versatility. We've said it before. He can play literally across that the DB roles. He played really well at nickel. The guy wants to be a safety. He did. I think he said on his Instagram live a couple of days ago, he was fine with actually staying and playing nickel for the Niners. He hadn't ruled it out. It was all about how much they were going to pay. Then, obviously, D'Amico comes in. He's obviously going to play safety for them. He's got his starting safety role. It's where he wants to play. I can't begrudge him the move. I can't. There's obviously a lot of work that's needing done on that Texans team. I can't see them being challengers for even their own division, let alone anything else for a couple of years yet. But I think he's the right player. He's unselfish. He's proved that with the Niners by playing so many different positions. I like Jimmy. He's done well for us for the last 9 years. He's been a hell of a servant for the team.
Now, to be fair, Nick, I was refreshing Twitter and then Martin caught my eye. I would say, Martin, that I was lucky because, yes, 2 were cancelled on me. And my boss was not very happy because I was relying on public transport. I nearly tweeted you, buddy, but I thought I'd wait till tonight on the show. So I wouldn't do that to you, mate. Alex Simpson put there that he'll miss him because Jimmy Ward's been through so much with us. He's a good locker room guy. Now, to be fair, Rob, stealing my thunder a little bit, buddy, but we'll let you off because that's what the live's all about. I must admit, I am sad to see Mosley go. Before he went down injured, he was an absolute baller for us at the start of the season. I was kind of hoping that would keep his price down the injury and we'd get him back for 1 year. Yeah. But I go back to what I said earlier, Rob. I think the Niners had a price in mind, but given the fact that we've got Hufanga and Gibson, and I think they maybe have some eye on someone in the draft, they've been able to let Mosley go. We can't pay everybody, which is a sad fact of today's NFL. And you say only $6 million, but obviously we've let Abukam go. Obviously, King Charles, because I can't pronounce his surname. I got it right last night, but not 2 days in a row. Now, that is kind of the sad part of the NFL. You invest so much in these players, you get your favourites. And it isn't always the superstars. Brock Purdy, CMC, Kittle, Jersey have got hung up over there. But there's some people like that E-Man who come along, or Abukam has a moment and you think, could we keep everybody? But that's what makes this sport unique. Because like you said, English football, you look at the Premier League, you look at the strength that they've got compared to the teams in Europe because there's no salary cap, the spending, the transfer deadline day. Now, I have to admit, I prefer the NFL free agency to transfer deadline day for obvious reasons. And as Martin has put in there, last of the Harbaugh era.
Indeed, yeah.
So
they're all gone.
To see him go. Now, hang on a minute. You can read the comments, everybody. I don't have a mouse like Mr. Gowland, so I have to scroll up So there's some breaking news, kind of. So I'm teasing in there.
then,
So Neil Graham's just put that on Twitter, which is your job, Nick. You told me you were refreshing, buddy.
I am.
I was talking. You're supposed to refresh, but it looks apparently that we're in discussion for gold. Apparently it's between us and another team. And like Lee said last night, Gold made all the noises that somebody entering free agency at his age with his resume would make. I think he would stay at the Niners, but he wants to look after himself. He wants to look after his family. Now, on last night's show, Nick, we made a little bit of fun at your expense. I'm not going to lie. We were talking kickers, and I reminded the chaps that your would you rathers can be sometimes a little bit on the evil side. So I thought I'd get my own back last week. Now, kicker is something I've thought quite a lot about today, which is a bit unusual given I'm supposed to be at work. But Gary Thorpe was on the same page as me last night that maybe Jake Moody was the best kicker prospect in this class. And should we go and get Jake, and maybe he's going into the season with a rookie? But the more I think about it, Kyle Shanahan doesn't tend to lean towards rookies in key positions. And I thought, come January, could we be at Lambeau Field again? Could that ball be getting snapped by our good friend Tabor Pepper and ready for the winning field goal? And would I feel confident with a rookie or his name, who shall not be mentioned?
I've seen it already once in the chat. I was devastated.
And I thought, do you know what? I actually would lean towards a veteran at this stage, somebody that's been proven in the league, and I think that's what Kyle might look at. Now, I don't know whether this is true, Simon, because Nadji's not in the comments tonight, but when we jump off air, I'll drop him a text and I'll see whether he's in the Chester Romans price range. And yes, Alec, I knew you were coming in with that. We don't need a kicker. We're only scoring touchdowns and 2 points only. Mr. Simpson, people will be screenshotting this and they'll be cashing those receipts in.
Coming in.
Dipped your toe into the content creating world, buddy. Your main market isn't as easy as it looks, these bold predictions sometimes. Now, Nick, I think we've reached that time of the show.
Are we ready?
Most people tune into. So what do we reckon, guys?
Come on in. Bring it on.
What do we reckon? So, technically speaking, you're supposed to be host this week. So you're supposed to go first. But I'm jumping in first because I thought I was super prepared at the weekend. So I'll be honest with you. The two that I was going to go with is one that I stole off Twitter. So there was a lot of debate about Lamar Jackson, Nick Bosa, who would you rather have? And I thought, ooh, shall I put Nick on the spot with that? And then it got old and free agency came in. So then my next one was going to be, what would you rather spend more in free agency on offense or more on defense? And then John Lynch thought, sack that, Paul. Day one. So I was like, right, what should you do? So, keeping in the spirit of free agency and the draft process, I'm going to ask you the question, buddy. Would you rather be the number 1 draft pick or the number 1 unrestricted free agent in free agency?
Yeah, I mean, to be a potential number 1 draft pick, you've got the full build-up. You see, the only bit really is, do you have the party at home or do you go to the draft to be there? I don't know. I think I'd have to be at home with the family and the friends, to be honest. That would probably be more me. It'd be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Before you've even touched a ball in professional football, you're already a multi-millionaire. But then you've also got all that expectation. And a lot of number 1s have already failed. Now, I'll be honest, Simon, I'm thinking the same, because if you're the number 1 unrestricted free agent, you've already proved yourself. And that contract is going to be a lot bigger. I think I'd have to be the number 1 unrestricted free agent. That would be for me. You can choose where you want to go. You haven't got to worry about, okay, who's picking me? I'm just going to go there. Yeah, I'm taking the number 1 unrestricted free agent.
So the reason I didn't stick with my original choice, because I'm on the same page as Rob.
Yeah,
I think every 49ers fan would have said Bosa. And to be fair, I did have some fun on Twitter. So some of the content creators got a little bit heated about it. And I was like, it's Nick Bosa all day long. But it got me thinking about that question. And obviously, Simon's put in there that he would be the unrestricted free agent. Rob, the same. It would be free agency, means you're doing things in the big leagues. How many number ones fall by the wayside? But I just thought, given at the stage of where we're at, I wanted to see where people's thought process was, because a lot of people like the draft. A lot of people like free agency. I've seen free agency described as Christmas Eve, and I've seen the draft described as Christmas. And personally, I would go the same as everyone. I'd want to be a free agent. I'd want that big contract. I'd want to pick where I was going. And it means you've kind of set the league alight. But that was my would you rather. So do you have a nice one for me tonight? Or do you have your usual evil one?
Well, I suppose it's for you to decide, really. Unfortunately, the news that's come out at the very beginning of the show has kind of made it null and void, to be honest. Because my would you rather is quite simple. I looked at our free agents, and Paul, you are the GM of the San Francisco 49ers. You have your money, but you can only sign one. You're either saying, Robbie, here you go, there's the bag, go kick it, or Aziz, there you go, it's yours. Now, it is kind of null and void because obviously he has now signed with the Titans, but those are your choices, Paul. Are you going to sign the best kicker? Or are you going to go and sign this up-and-coming linebacker who could have been a starter anywhere else in the league?
I think if we didn't have Greenlaw and Warner locked down, and your boy, I can't pronounce his first name, but the lad Ball, the young lad that was signed, yeah. See, pronunciation's not my strength. And the fact that I think Burks might be in for a big year this year, I think what people forget is the Niners bring players in sometimes. Maybe keep them in the practice squad, keep them in the special teams. And as I said, I'm smirking because your would you rather was spoilt by my earlier answer. Because if you were watching the show, and I've just gushed about Robbie Gould, that was me last week when Nick spoilt mine in the first 8 seconds of the show. So that's why I prepared a couple for tonight. But I think given the way the team is at the moment and the moves we've made from free agency, I think Robbie Gould would be my choice. But it'd be interesting to hear what everybody in the chat says. And before we end the segment, I just get my phone because I screenshot it. Alex Simpson actually dropped his own one, which is what we want, people. We want you to
Indeed, bring them on.
So Alex Simpson tweeted out, and I will ask Nick the question, would you rather spend the whole training camp blocking Nick Bosa or spend the whole training camp defending George Kittle?
It's a rough one because no matter who you choose, you're going to end up battered and bruised. You're going to be absolutely destroyed. On the flip side, you're also going to be a far better player for it because you're either going to be spending your day taking on the best tight end in the NFL or taking on the best pass rusher in the NFL. It's a tough one. Like I say, you talk about two of the best competitors in the league. I mean, even Trent Williams comes out and says, I am a better left tackle because I have to face Nick Bosa every day. I'm going to say Bosa, not because I think it's an easier task, but purely based on the fact I play on the offensive side and playing against Nick Bosa would make me a better offensive player.
So, Simon, either way, a lot of blood will be spilled. Now, I don't think Kittle or Bosa would be harmed in this experiment, Simon. However...
No, they'd be fine.
Given mine and Nick's injury record, if you tuned in last week, Nick chopped off a tip of his finger. I injured my hand at flag football on Sunday, but it doesn't seem that bad. To be fair, getting into the flag football world, I think I would lean towards Kittle, purely because, obviously, I'm a fan of George. I think he would be hilarious. I think he would have so much fun because he would know he's so much better than me, but I think he would encourage. Where I think Bosa is that actually obsessed with getting better with his craft. I think he would just throw me around like a rag doll and would be like, Trent Williams, who's this idiot trying to block me? Off you go. So
it's nuts. Yeah, if you spent the day with George Kittle, the two of you would you'd just be rolling on the floor laughing, wouldn't you? It'd be incredible. And I think was it against the Falcons? When they closed in, he pancaked the guy, and he's rolling out and he's buckled himself. He's absolutely creased himself with how much he destroyed the guy. You know that man goes out with a smile on his face every single day. George Kittle is living his best life.
So Neil Graham's jumped in there, so I'll go back to some of the people's comments, but he agrees with you. He thinks George constant talking would get on his nerves. What would worry me more, Neil, is Bosa wouldn't talk to you. He would just snarl at you and just kill you. I think that would unnerve me more. Well, at least with George, you could try and have a bit of banter, or you could be like, whoa, wait a second. Where I think Bosa, as soon as it's like go, I would run as fast as my 42-year-old little legs could run away from that. But all jokes aside, I do think everyone's on the same page that with us, Kittle would probably laugh more. Kittle would be more fun. And to be honest, I do like the segment now. Now, Martin Hughes did tag me and you earlier. Now, it looks like the BBC have been tuning in to our little old live show. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, because I don't want to share my screen because I'll do something and it'll crash. Martin Hughes tagged us in. Apparently, one of the... there's a show on the Ultimate Choice BBC Sounds, and it sounds like they've stolen your idea, Nick. Now, I think you need to get this trademarked because I've seen it on a couple of other shows. So all credit goes to the main man. This was Nick Ludlam's idea. And to be honest, when he first proposed it to me, I was like, I don't know whether I'll be able to come up with one every week. And then when he hit me with some of the ones he's hit me with, I was like, he's definitely been thinking about this a lot more than me. So
get the evil face on.
All right, Brett. Chill your little beans over there, man. Or up there in Falkirk where you are. So, Nick, we're running at 52 minutes. We've jumped around like we always do. Now, we did say at the start of the show we want to get to an hour. So is there anything else on your notes that you've still got? Because I know you haven't shredded them this week. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we let these good people get up on out of here and enjoy the rest of their night?
No, I think we've pretty much covered the last crazy 30 hours. I'm not sure I can handle another 30 hours like the last day and a half's been. But yeah, I think I just want to see a few more of our players get signed. We've got some of the boys that were on the team last year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a restructure or two more to come, just so we can get a few more of those people on board. But at this point, I don't think anything would surprise me. I don't think it'd surprise me if we went and did a package deal for one of the better right tackles in the league at this point, really.
Yeah, I think I said on the impromptu show last night, so I said 3 for restructure. One's been done, Mooney Ward. I do think we'll see CMC because I think the team will look after him. I think the fact that we're not one of those organisations that think, oh, we've got him under contract. Like I said, there's no guaranteed money. And I think to front load it, give him a huge signing bonus and put his cap hit minimal. A lot of people are worried about the Bosa contract. I'm not one of those people. Niners tend to do those kind of contracts in training camp. Nick and his team will know what he's getting paid. And I think at this stage of the season, when you take the emotion out of it, and we'd love everybody to be signed day one, we'd love all the draft picks to be. What's great about this game is every day it's evolving and you're waiting for the dominoes to fall. And I think they've attacked free agency. They've got some of the big needs out of the way. I think now the full focus will move towards the second stage of free agency. Like you said, you see, are people going to get packaged up? Are people going to get traded? Parag, work his magic, as Rob has put on there. And I think, like you said, I mean, the kicker, as we said, Jason, it sounds if the team is trying to nail that down with Robbie Gould. So I think we're going to head into the draft feeling very confident as an organisation that we've got the bulk of what we've done. And equally, it allows us to concentrate on maybe next year, which is what's great. So some of the comments are coming in there. So Martin, thanks as ever, gents. Great
Cheers,
show.
Mate.
Lots covered. Rob, great show. Had lots of fun. Simon, thanks for the show. Now, Alec, I will let this one sneak in, even though I've took the banner off. So, Nick, would you rather pay for the D-line's food bill or the O-line's food bill at the end of the night?
O-line.
Yeah.
I'll pay the lads that are going to protect me rather than the lads that are going to batter me.
And the fact, if you look at the 49ers D-line, I'm still scared of them, even sat 5,000 miles away on this side of the pond. So I think I would just kind of like get the O-line lads to look after us. Now, before we finish on up, there's a lot of people in the chat. Now, I'm going to sound like a broken record. We're hitting the subs on YouTube. So thank you to everyone who's hit that.
So much.
We need you guys to hit that like button.
Keep
We
hitting
need
it.
you to comment both on the chat and then if you watch the show back. We want to grow. We want to bring more of this content to you guys. But we're grateful for the support we've had. And like we said, we've got big plans for the 49er Faithful UK. We definitely will be back next week at 8 p.m.
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, what else are you going to do on a Tuesday
This is it.
at 8 p.m.?
This is it.
So, Simons, there's a few. I'm determined, Nick, not to end the broadcast because we always miss someone's comment and I always feel really
Someone's
bad.
always does.
So, Alex Simpson's put there.
Thanks,
So,
guys.
before I let Nick utter the immortal words, which he's waiting to do, you may have seen that we dropped an impromptu live pod last night. So we decided to do that, Nick, because it would be out of date if we recorded it normally. And it was a whole host of fun. It was a little bit different to our dynamic because it was the four of us. Gareth does a sterling job keeping us all under control. But the pod has been released on all major platforms as we normally do. And like we said, at the moment, I think the pod team are taking a break. So your only news from the 49er Faithful UK for the next couple of weeks is going to be from myself and Nick. There is plans for Lee and yourself to do the San Francisco shows. Obviously, if there's any urgent breaking news, we will be jumping on there. And that's why we invested in the StreamYard license. It's why we've gone with the YouTube channel. And like I said, I've done my cheeky plug for people to get on board. But I do want to say thank you to everybody who comments, everybody who interacts with us on Twitter. And we want the Would You Rathers. Please.
Keep them coming. Be as evil or as nice as you want.
So, Nick, we're getting to that stage. We're going to let these people get out of here. I have the video loaded. All that's left for me to say is see you guys next week. And go Niners.
Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep Clark.